Hey guys, welcome back. What we want to talk today is starting with the syllabus change. I know many of you guys are probably wondering what kind of changes that we may encounter during the movement that we try to deliver all of the materials online. And therefore, here is what I have made changes to our syllabus. So as you can see, for undergraduates, what I have make the changes is that I actually increase the percentage of projects from 55% to 60%, which means I add 5 more overall points on the project. The reason I'm doing that is because now we actually still need to do the project in my mind because we already started and many of you guys making good progress already. We need to finish it. To finish that, we need have some group meetings. And of course, I don't want you guys to have physical meetings. And therefore, I want you guys to meet through Google Meet or some other online materials or online softwares. After the syllabus, I actually want to introduce to you guys about Google Meet. That's what UCA have been majorly used. And I have several encounters with that, and I feel it is actually a good material to do so. So by looking into that, I want you guys to continue the research. And because it's actually become more difficult to meet, I want to encourage you guys to do so. And that's why I've increased the percentage to 60%. And after that, we also have, and by looking into that one, I have a results section. I have made some modifications. Instead of final research paper, instead of writing the whole paper, I actually only want you guys to focus on the result section. So only part of the paper. That makes things a little bit easier. And of course, I will have some courses, one class to talk about paper writing. On top of that, I actually add another 5 points on overall for online class participation. So since now we have moved everything into online, to make sure you guys do read, do watch the class material as well as do some practice, I will ask you guys to submit something starting from today so that I can really see all of you guys are doing things. And by doing so, I actually give another 5 points regarding to that. Therefore, if you try to sum up 20, 20, 60 with another 5 and 5 over here, you actually looking at 110 points, which means that I give you overall 10 points addition. So I did not change the grading laters. So you can see that if you achieve 90 to 100, in fact, it's 90 to 110, you get an A. 80 to 89, you get a B. 70 to 79, you get a C. 60 to 69, you get a D. And below it, you get an F. So it actually still stays the same thing, but I make it easier for you guys to have a better grade because we are encountering a special occasion that nobody wants to see so. And for graduate students, you can see that for the midterm exam, it's already done, so I'm not going to change that part. There is a 10%, 10 overall point, which originally I want you guys to do some research paper presentation. And now at this stage, it's actually kind of difficult to do so. So I decide to move these 10 points into the final exam. So for graduate students, your final exam will have a higher percentage. And for the project as well as online class participation, I'm doing the same thing. I increased 5 more percent on the class project, changing the whole research paper to focus on the results section of the paper. And for online class participation, I have give you additional 5 points over here as well. So for graduate students, your overall grade is still 110, and it's actually the same thing. So you can see that I have make some modifications on the descriptions of the paper writing. Now I want you to write about only 2 pages of the results section instead of the whole paper. So that is the changes I've made on the syllabus. I do upload the new syllabus to the Blackboard already. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask me. And the next thing is that I want to show you guys about the Google Meet. So if we close this file and then open up the Google app while we log in as the UCA account, this is the regular email things that we have seen. So if you click the Google Apps tab, look into so you will see a Google Meet over here. So go ahead and click that one. What you will see is that you will be able to easily create a meeting space virtually. So saying that I'm going to open it up and then just say a test meeting, and what it will do is that it will create a space for us, and then while you try to allow the video, allow the audio stuff, and you will be able to see like I am on the screen right now. So if we click the join now we will creating a space. The most important thing is about this one. So you can see that it will create a space for everybody to join. As long as you have this link, people will be able to come into this forum and then make discussions and everything. I do plan now, besides recording the video and uploading the videos, I will also want to create a Google Meet space for the class. So during the regular class hours on Tuesday and Thursday from 10:50 till 12:05, I will create a space for all of you guys. I will invite you guys to join through email as well as post the link on the Blackboard announcement. So that once you have that, you will be able to click that and you can join the meeting to ask any questions or have any discussions with me. By doing so, you can see that that link is also available again on the left lower corner of that, and you will be able to join the meeting. I can also share with everyone about the screens that I have or any programs that I have by clicking this one. And you will be able to do so. So if you have any questions or anything, you can show me what you have on your screen, and I will be able to give you some recommendation or some answers. So that is about the Google Meet. I will try to use this with you guys starting from the March 19th class. So that is about a Google Meet introduction to you guys. The next thing is I want to start looking into the PowerPoint style or the class materials that I prepared for you guys. So in this topic, we will have 2 outlines. First one is about the yeast longevity genes research that I want you guys to read on Tuesday's class. And after that, we will look into a new algorithm, which is a combination of hierarchical clustering as well as k-means clustering. So for the yeast, as I discussed with you guys earlier, we are interested in longevity genes. Compared with human, yeast has only about 5,000 to 6,000 genes, so it's much easier. For biologists, they can knock out one by one and then really doing some what we call wet lab experiments and to see if the genes are live longer or live shorter without that gene. But of course, that takes a lot of time and effort to do so. So we want to see if computer science can move into this area and then do some researches or try to make some predictions about longevity genes. And that's what we call a bioinformatics research. So right now, there's only, at the time of the research, actually, only 86 genes were identified. Compared with expected 500 genes, there's still a big gap between those two. So what we have done is this. We try to look into all of those 5,000 genes And what we're trying to do is that we look into a website that provides the information for what we call a protein-protein interaction. So for example, by looking into one of the genes out of in the East, it has totally 463 interactions with all other genes. So there's a lot of interactions. This is an active one with a lot of activations or activities with other genes. What we're trying to be interested is that among all of those interactions, how many of those are actually interact with the known 86 genes that we are interested in. And we will be able to generate a ratio, and we can sort of that ratio to see what other genes has more interactions with longevity genes. In biology's perspective, the more interactions indicating the higher probability that you are also a longevity genes. So that is our assumption. And because of that, we're actually using what we call a z-score concept to filter out only 5% of the genes that are highly interested in. And therefore, we pick up 197 genes. And what we're going to do next is that we put this 197 genes together with the 86 non-longevity genes together. And then based on their microarray dataset, we apply hierarchical clustering. So what is that kind of dataset? The dataset is something looks like this. Looks familiar to you guys? This is actually the file I want you guys to work on exam number 1 or the midterm exam. So actually, each gene on the left side, these are the gene names, and then for each row, each column actually is the experiment results of the genes. So based on the experiment, what is the response for that experiment? And we can have a number to record it. Because they are different experiments, the values are actually very different from each other. That's why we need to do the normalization, just like you guys did in the midterm. Once we have normalized those, they become 3 values associated with each genes. And based on this, for all of those 283 genes, we do a hierarchical clustering and then try to find the clusters among those. And therefore, what's happening is this. Remember, for hierarchical clustering, based on the operations that we do for every iteration, starting from all of the points that are considered as 1 point, we try to find 2 points to merge together. Only in this research, 2 or more points are considered as a cluster. So you can see that based on different number of iterations. For 10 iterations, we have 8 clusters. For 20 iterations, we have 12 clusters. For 30, we have 18. For 40, we also have 18 clusters. So we have this figure to keep track of how many clusters are being generated. And we are actually, in this presentation, I'm going to show you the interesting things on the number of iteration of 40. So basically, when we have 40, we actually end up with 18 clusters. So while we try to circle out or presenting all of these clusters, there are 5 of those are not shown over here. We try to cluster all of the genes together, and then I want you guys to take a look of this one. So saying that for the clusters of, let me make it bigger. For the cluster of cluster number 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 genes are put into the cluster. The one with the star sign indicating they are the non-longevity genes. So basically, by looking into this one, you see that these clusters has this amount of genes, and 3 of them are non-longevity genes. Compared with cluster number 3, this is actually very interesting. In this cluster, almost every single one is a non-longevity genes except this one. And obviously, this suggests that this gene is actually very similar to all of this. And that's why we can predict that one as a non-longevity genes. I will continue my slides in the next video.